and provide a little intro, and then we'll hand it over to Diego and Amy. So welcome, everybody who's out there. Thank you for attending this virtual CAP Lunch and Learn. My name is Carolyn Conant, and I'm with the Climate Team and Environmental Services. Today's topic, we'll be hearing about the electrification of transportation in Colorado. We'll hear from Amy Maxey and Diego Lopez of Northern Colorado Clean Cities about their work in this space, and also some exciting upcoming opportunities to get involved in making statewide progress towards electrifying transportation. For those of you who haven't attended before, CAP Lunch and Learns are informal lunchtime get-togethers for people from across the organization to come together and learn about progress that we're making towards our climate action goals, which are a 20% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions below 2005 levels by 2020, fingers crossed, 80% below by 2030, and achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. We typically ask that you hold questions until the end unless the speakers say otherwise, and then you can feel free to ask verbally during the Q&A after the presentation or write in the chat box and I can read them out. And now a big welcome to Amy and Diego. Thank you so much for presenting for us today. If you could just give us a quick introduction and then you can take it away.
Oh, you are muted, Diego.
I'm on mute. There we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Carolyn and everybody for giving us the opportunity. My name is Diego Lopez with the Northern Colorado Clean Cities Coalition. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and yeah, we're excited to present to you today on all of our different strategies. But yeah, Amy, why don't you give a brief introduction, and then I'll go through my agenda here.
Perfect. Yeah, so my name's Amy Maxey. For those of you who don't know me, I am a program manager with Northern Colorado Clean Cities. I actually used to work at the city of Fort Collins, so it's been kind of fun to see, you know, where we kind of collide and how we both want to enhance each other's efforts. So it's been a great partnership.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yes, we are so happy to actually have someone from Fort Collins know the you know, what's going on in Fort Collins. That's really helpful. So I'll go ahead. I can go ahead and present the first slide here if you want me to, Amy.
You know, since we will have some polls today, and I'll be going through a couple tools. So I'll just go ahead and present and share my screen, so that way when I'm walking through the tools, we don't have to go back and forth. But I have an interesting setup, so let me move this over here. Okay, so can you see this okay?
Now I can. Perfect.
Awesome. So go ahead and let me know. You can get started and I'll just start going through the slides with you.
And I'll let you know. Perfect. That sounds great. So thank you, guys. So yeah, so I have the easy part of really just going through the basics. What is Clean Cities? What is Northern Colorado Clean Cities? Why we do what we do, why we're here. And then we do have interspersed within my section some questions. It gives us some really good feedback on where are your priorities. And then I'll also go into maybe some specific focuses, not all of them, but within my section, you know, I'll go through financial assistance, and then I'll also go through where do we get our educational and informational types of resources. So first, and I do see here a raise your hand feature. Maybe we can use that, but I always like to gauge how many have heard of Clean Cities or of Northern Colorado Clean Cities. I actually see a lot of familiar names in there, but you know, generally we'll go through, you know, the basics of Clean Cities. I know that there are tons of people that have, but there are probably tons of people that haven't. So, you know, the basics first. I first want to point out these are top here, some pictures of us out there in the field doing what we do best. So those are some real pictures here. And I also just briefly, before we go to the next slide, those are in fact the counties that we serve, but I'll be going through more specifics on Northern Colorado in a bit. Next slide. So what is Colorado? What is Clean Cities? So Clean Cities is in fact a Department of Energy program started back in 1993, and it is focused on advancing the energy and economic environmental security of the United States. And it's really focused on the reduction of petroleum use in transportation. And we do that through a variety of ways, but we really support several technologies, as you see here at the very bottom: electricity, hydrogen, propane, natural gas, biodiesel, ethanol, any of those fuels to displace petroleum, because we have seen that it reduces greenhouse gas emissions. So that's really, again, our main focus is to eliminate petroleum use, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and replace them with these alternative fuels, which Fort Collins already has an EV readiness roadmap. You guys have a really extensive transportation plan. So you guys are already in line with our mission. So we're so glad that you guys are already a part of this great endeavor. Next slide. We are, again, I pointed out we're Northern Colorado Clean Cities. I pointed out the very top there, some of our counties, but we're not alone. We're one of over 80, over 90 coalitions across the United States. Again, all of them focused on the reduction of petroleum use. And nearly 500,000 alternative fuel vehicles have been adopted across the United States because specifically of these coalitions. So we're not alone. We have several people backing us up, and if we need a case study, if we have ideas of a project, most likely it's been done in Utah, in New York, in California, and we can get that kind of information from them. So that's just a benefit of having a national coverage. Next slide. But just to hone in, just to give you a visualization of what we do, specifically Northern Colorado Clean Cities, our little territory is really outlined here. Again, I pointed out at the very beginning, all of those different counties that we service. And in particular, we'll go through today what our specific focuses are. But we have already had significant impact because we have started back in 1996. We actually started in Weld and Larimer County under the municipality, but switched to a 501c3 back in 2001. So ever since that time, we've expanded from Larimer and Weld County to all of these counties and continuing. Next slide. And there needs to be a reason, a precedent for starting a coalition in our area. And the reason why we do what we do is because there is an urgent need to reduce emissions from the transportation sector, not only in the United States, but specifically here in Colorado. These two graphs here are from the Colorado Department of Health. And what they show is startling. Transportation is projected to be the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. That's the one in orange there. And annually, emissions from cars and trucks impact us by $1.5 billion in loss of health and loss of productivity. So this has some serious implications. And so again, our focus is to effectively, efficiently, cost-effectively transition to alternative fuels and electric vehicles, because they really do have that impact. And then even on a larger case than the economics, research has shown that ozone pollution affects work health. It affects our lung health. And so again, we're doing this as a cost-effective measure, but we're doing this also as an environmental and health factor. Next slide. So, I think it.
Are you seeing the poll question?
I do see the poll question. It might have skipped once, but I think this is fine. Yeah, no, this is it. How would you, so again, so I'm going to stop here. Now that you know a little bit of Clean Cities in general, it's a national program. You know a little bit more about Northern Colorado Clean Cities, about all of our scope, our counties, what we need to do, and our main focus. We're going to throw back the question to you. How would you prioritize reducing transportation greenhouse gas emissions?
And what you'll want to do if you haven't done this before, you can either open up a new tab or do it on your phone. You just go to the top link there, pollev.com/AmyMaxey282. And then it should pull this up for you. If not, you just might want to refresh it, but you can type in your answer and we can see what you all think is the most important. And if you're struggling to figure this out, you can always write it in the chat as well, but we want to hear from you.
So if mass transportation is something that's important, if electric vehicles is also important, you know, we definitely want to hear. Excellent. Yeah, public transportation definitely reduces greenhouse gas emissions and even more so vehicle miles traveled. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Now they're coming in.
Support EV group buy. I'm so glad someone knows. We'll be pointing it out. Again, I'll be having our focuses, specific focuses very soon, but I'm so glad someone knows of the EV group buy. There's a really great deal for Nissan Leafs and BMW. Expand rebates and incentives for EVs, make them affordable. We'll definitely go through that in our specific focuses. So I'm glad that is a key here. Mass transit. Intuitive is a really key. Accessibility is something that, you know, we want to increase. How do we get more people to these types of transportation options and solutions? Upgrade bike network. You know, again, we're not necessarily, you know, we're definitely going to be focused more on transportation and electric vehicles, but I think electric bikes really present that solution for the first last mile to getting you to that last destination. Excellent. Those are really, really good suggestions. So yeah, we want, you know, we'll give you another 2 or 3 minutes here, but yeah, these are all good suggestions that, you know, we use to see, you know, what should be our focus? What do people want more information on?
And it looks like Alexis added in the chat to have more transportation routes throughout the city so people have better ways to go everywhere. I agree. And that can help with equity issues as well. Perfect.
Sure.
I'm loving all these answers. This is nice that you guys are very engaging. Perfect. But I think we'll move on now. I'll go to the next slide, but we will have more questions coming, so get those fingers ready to type. Here we are. So what one word resonates the most with you regarding clean transportation? So just one word. You can do multiple one words, but just submit one at a time. And you might have to refresh your page too. Sometimes that happens. It's good to see you too, Alexis.
EV, electric.
EV and
I'm
electric.
so glad. We'll have definitely that focus.
I like that one.
Breathing. Yeah, this is a health issue. This is not an economic issue. It's, you know, it's a health issue. This is why we're here.
I like
Equitable.
that one.
That's really good. These are all really good.
It's like fun to see the word map, but then when it changes when you're trying to read it sometimes. These are good.
Yeah, equity. Yeah, equity is an access. I mean, those are the key things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all with planning. Can we plan it correctly? Do we have a needs assessment? Those are all things that we can help with. Well, excellent.
Great.
We'll give another 30 seconds. Cool. Alrighty.
Oh yeah, we got more coming in. Normalized. That's a good one. Community centered. Perfect.
Community centered. That's a really good one.
All right, thank you for your responses, pardon me.
Excellent.
All right, you know.
Well, I'm so glad that we just got, again, your brainstorm first as to what really is your priority, what are on your minds. And, you know, hopefully what I'll go through some of our focuses is how we can address those. How can we address some of those priorities? And, you know, again, going through the national Clean Cities program, we are the boots on the ground, being the Northern Colorado Clean Cities Coalition. So here in Northern Colorado Clean Cities, we pick to do, you know, 4 main areas. We want local and national partnerships. So from the national, can we bring any funding, resources in? We want to provide information and education. So any case studies that gives you more confidence to adopt EVs. What is the information that we'll need to have prior to adoption of any of these types of solutions? Financial assistance. We don't particularly provide the actual money, but we, of course, because we're a Department of Energy program, we are the first to know about Department of Energy funding opportunities, EPA funding opportunities, statewide opportunities. And again, with the local and national partnerships, we connect them. So we have several successful projects that have been funded that way. And then in the very end, you know, we're here to be your technical and problem solvers. So you want to adopt EVs. What are the actual barriers stopping you from adopting them? Is it the infrastructure? Is it the actual battery technology? Is it the weather? Is it the climate? What are the types of things that are stopping us? And we want to provide those solutions. So next slide. We'll give you a little bit you know, more information as far as our services and what do these financial assistance, what do these actually pay for? First, we want to find financial assistance for alternative fuel, electric vehicle, infrastructure development, and corridor planning. So not just the actual infrastructure itself. We'll go through some funding mechanisms for that. But I also want to see actual planning. So your EV readiness roadmap, you know, can that be financed? Can that be funded so that we can increase the equity, increase the efficacy of that plan? Targeted coaching and technical assistance. So we actually offer that for free. There's no cost to our analysis, and we use Department of Energy tools, EPA tools to help you with that analysis. And if we don't know it, we'll again bring in another free resource for that targeted coaching and technical assistance. We are providing some free site visits and educational tours of operations and infrastructure. To increase confidence, you need to see it in action. And so what we're trying to do is market projects that have been successful, and we'll bring in those stakeholders to see that it actually works, either on a video or a fun educational tour. Then we also provide training and certifications, either at a subsidized cost or for free. We'll be doing some like CNG certification training for fleets. We'll also be doing some safety training for first responders for free. So how do we increase the confidence in the adoption of EVs? It's not just the consumers. Again, it's planning, it's training the trainers, training dealerships. We run the gamut of providing those resources for free. So if you have questions, technical questions, give us a call. Some other things that we provide through the state are workshops, ride-in drives. So we'll literally set up electric vehicles for you to test drive, virtual for now. EV group buy events, we'll just go through those very briefly. Specialty events, and then again, general coaching for EV advising and infrastructure support. Next slide. So specifically, again, we mentioned successful projects that we're doing. This is one of our very successful projects that is going to be coming online September October, November, hopefully, is going to be a Fort Collins electric vehicle group buy. So how do we help specifically consumers? Again, we help everybody, but specifically consumers adopt EVs. One of the barriers that we have seen, that you have mentioned, rebates, finances. It's expensive. So what we have done is partnered with the city, partnered with certain other stakeholders, with dealerships locally, to decrease the cost of those EVs. So check out our EV sales event page on our website, because there are some significant savings for a Nissan Leaf, BMW, and then later on, look out for other models for EVs. Next slide. This is the biggest question. It doesn't, it really helps us. Have you driven in an EV before? It's great that there are finances. It's great that EVs are going to be cheaper for you, but I want to know if you're already comfortable with it. So no, but I've been in a passenger in one. That's pretty good. Yes, okay. We'll get some things there. Along with, again, this group buy, you'll see some other events that will hopefully give you some confidence. Again, we won't have a actual ride and drive, a personal ride and drive, but a virtual one will be available. So hopefully that will supplement some of our experience, but you'll still be able to get a real world experience here. So let's see. I own a Chevy Volt. Nice. When do EV tax credits end? Such a good question. They end, the $4,000 tax credit ends this year in December, and it will go down to $2,500. So when you're looking at all of the discounts that we're offering consumers, next year it will be lower. Will there be any used electric vehicle availability? I'm so glad you mentioned that, because what we're trying to do, again, is give that feedback to our stakeholders or our partners that we need something like that. There is not currently a program for used vehicles, and there's not currently a federal program. It has to be a new EV, but we are going to petition for one.
And you can purchase used EVs now, really, but there's just not the additional incentives like you get for new vehicles, just to clarify.
Good point. All righty. Well, we can go through the next slide here. And again, we're going to go now into the specifics. Beyond these consumer discounts, what other ways can we move the needle towards EVs? Consumers are only a part of it. We also have fleets, we have businesses that need to adopt too. We have financial assistance for that. So Alt Fuels Colorado takes care of these larger, heavy-duty alternative fuel fleet vehicles. Granted, it's only going to be for EVs and renewable natural gas, and so we can help again fleets adopt that. Charge Ahead Colorado, really more for businesses, but municipalities can take advantage of it as well. This is really funding specifically charging stations and electric vehicles. Charging stations they only charge for electric vehicles inside the Denver metro area. We fall outside the Denver metro area, so we would only qualify for charging station. So just for Larimer County's point of view, level 2 and level 3 charging at $9,000 for level 2, $30,000 for level 3 will be the only thing that we qualify for the Charge Ahead. Next slide. In addition to charging stations, vehicles, the actual infrastructure, there might actually need to be some funding for planning. And that's where perhaps this consolidated call for capital projects can come in. I've actually seen typically the replacement of transit vehicles being used. That's primarily what it has been used for. But I have seen Some funding go towards planning in addition to that, because I know transit, we need to do some analysis. We need some needs assessment. So for transit vehicles, there are some funding for, again, planning and the actual vehicle and infrastructure. Through DOLA as well, there will be some alternative fuel vehicle incentives for public fleets only. So there are tons of local incentives to move the needle towards adoption, and we can help you with that for free. Next slide. Last thing on my agenda, on my list, and we'll switch it off here, is information and education. So it's great. All right, other people have moved towards EVs. Okay, cool. We have incentives for EVs. Great. How do I actually know that it works for me? Well, we know because of several tools that we use. There are analysis tools from the alternative fuel AFDC .energy.gov website that we can use to determine how are we reducing emissions and by how much. How cost effective is this project? How cost effective is it to adopt 50 EVs when I have 400 vehicles? We can actually look that up. Fuel economy as well can compare vehicles. And then if you're wanting case studies, has someone done this type of bus project before? Most likely we can find it through these publications, through the Department of Energy. So I'll leave it off here and to Amy to give in more specifics into the alternative fuel data center. These are some of, again, the tools that are within that data center, vehicle cost calculator, and station locator. So I'll leave it off now to Amy. But thank you all so much.
Great job, Diego. So as he was saying, the afdc.energy.gov, it really is a resource in and of itself, but what we wanted to do was go through a couple of the tools that they offer. But you can see here that there's quite an extensive list of tools. So if you're seeing one that you're curious about, feel free to reach out to us afterwards and we can always take you through this step by step. But we have a question for you again. What is an electric vehicle that you are excited about, and what vehicle do you currently own? Specifically the make and model. And then I'll go ahead and walk through the vehicle cost calculator with you. But I'm just curious to see if there's any EVs that somebody's excited about, and then any conventional vehicle that you may currently own.
And should people just put this in the chat, Amy?
In the chat. Yeah, thank you. And one thing I will note too before we move on to this tool is that it's best when you're comparing newer vehicles. I was playing around with the tool and put in my 2007 Ford Fusion, and it said, I don't know what that would cost right now. So I don't want to Kelly Blue Book that, but it looks like, a few different options here. So we have a Nissan Leaf or a Honda CR-V is what they have, a Tesla or a 2007. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the tool. Can you all see this okay?
Can I briefly answer that question from Alexa's? Is there or can there be any conversion technology to convert an existing vehicle into an EV that would make it more affordable to use electric technology? So there's two points to that. So conversion absolutely is a thing. Retrofitting or upfitting is absolutely a thing. Lightning Hybrids is actually a local engineering firm or manufacturer that we have used that is actually a qualified vehicle manufacturer, meaning that they've gotten a stamp of approval from Ford that their electric vehicle conversion is good to go. However, your main point is, without buying an expensive new EV, we have to do the comparison. We have to do the analysis beforehand. Sometimes you can get a much cheaper deal by converting your current vehicle. But The battery typically is the most expensive thing on the electric vehicle. So sometimes it is not cost effective. So just to answer that question.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. So just so people see, as soon as I click that link, and again, you can find that under the tools on this website, you can choose different vehicles that you want to compare. So select up to 8 vehicles, and I will go ahead and just do, Carolyn, you went and answered first, so we're going to do yours. We're going to do the Nissan. Ooh. Which, just so you know, we have about $20,000 off the newest Nissan right now for our group buy, so now's the time. And then we're gonna add a 2019. It looks like you have a Honda CRV, and I'm just gonna.
It's definitely not a 2019, but the
That's
real
okay.
age might not work for your comparison.
Yes, and then this way we can compare to, like, if you love your Honda, but you also are curious about the Leaf, you can kind of see what the cost will look like here. So, and then you scroll down and you can really get specific with this. So your daily driving distance, how many days you drive per week, and all of that information. So I'm just going to go to Colorado here and then get results. Let's see what it says. Okay, so it shows you your annual fuel usage based on what we put in, your annual electricity used, and the annual fuel or electricity costs. So your CRV looks like would cost you about $800 more, but you also want to look at operating costs as well. That number usually is greatly or quite a bit higher in conventional vehicles because you have to get things like oil changes, and just all these other moving parts that those engines have. But it looks like your Leaf over time will cost you less money. But due to the higher cost, I think initially, that's why we're seeing this trend here. But it's just a fun tool to play around with. So that's one of them. And now I want to take you through, if there's any questions on that, please feel free to type them in the chat. But we will also have time for questions at the end as well. So I have another question for you as well. If you have an upcoming road trip, where are you headed? And Carolyn, maybe wherever you're at, when are you coming home and where are you at now? Just type that in the chat, and I'm going to show you both the station locator and how you can map a route within these tools. Moab and Santa Fe. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And again, you'd find this just by hitting the tools. So first, I'm just going to show you, this is the alternative fueling station locator, and you can choose what kind of fuel you're looking for. So let's just go ahead and look at Fort Collins really briefly. I probably should have said Colorado. Oh, nope, it figured it out. So these are different charging stations, and it looks like there's also a biodiesel station right here, just in this northern Colorado area. So this is a fun tool that you can use to do multiple things. One, find a station near you if you need to charge. You can measure different corridors to see how far away these charging stations are. But we're going to go on a road trip in an EV. So let's see. We will go from Fort Collins to Santa Fe. Oh. I had to think about that. Okay. And then it's going to take just 1 second to load. But this will show you, and we're going to go in our EV because we're going all electric. And now you can it gives you a list here. You can choose your route and which EVs you're going to stop and charge up on the way there. And you can see it goes all the way down. Colorado's doing a great job. We have lots of charging stations, and we're really building out the corridor. And then you see there is this kind of a gap right here. So you'd want to measure that and see how many miles away it is. Depending on your electric vehicle, you could make that no problem, or you might need to reevaluate. It just kind of depends. And then I could even do another one here quickly since we're moving through this at a decent pace. Let's do Moab. Okay, great. So again, you can see that there's a lot of different charging stations you can go to. Another thing, you can really play around with this tool. You can decide, I only want to do DC fast chargers. Now, those are the chargers that can generally get you full within 30 minutes, whereas the level 2 could take a couple hours. But as you can see, we've really been building out that infrastructure as well. But yeah, that's just kind of a fun tool we like to show you. Feel free to pop on that website, play around with it, and if you have questions, like I said, let us know and reach out to us at any time. Okay. So not only do we have these tools at our disposal or that we can use when it comes to making decisions about not only electrifying, but also getting alternative vehicles and infrastructure created and expanded. We also have two different response teams that we can utilize. So we have the technical response service, and this is the higher level service that if you have questions, you can reach out, stakeholders can reach out to these folks and ask, and they'll send you multiple different responses with sources, which is really nice, and they can help explain things for you in greater detail if you have certain questions. Further, the second level to that is the Tiger teams. Now, these are really industry experts, so they can help you with like more complex issues and questions, and help with like life cycle analysis and other things like that. But we have connections with both of these teams. So again, if you're asking us a question and for some reason we're not sure of the answer, we have these resources as well that we can utilize. So now to move on to my favorite thing to talk about, which is our projects. For some regional projects examples that we're working on, we have the Rev West and Core West. I'm curious if any of y'all have heard of that. If you want to do I'll be surprised, but I'll be impressed. If you do the raise hand function, I'd love to know if you've heard of either of these projects. But I'm going to go ahead and start explaining them now. So the Rev West was really a memorandum of understanding that was signed by 8 different states. Western states. So it was Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, where Carolyn is, and Wyoming. And really what this was done to provide EV corridor development throughout these 8 states so that any EV owner could travel within these Western states and know that they would be able to get their vehicle charged. And from that MOU, known as Rev West, we've created Core West. And this is a project that we've been involved in order to really understand and engage with these communities, especially in rural areas, to develop those corridors, understanding their barriers, and really kind of educating them on everything that's going on within EVs, within infrastructure. We've worked with Utah Clean Cities very closely with this project, and it's been a lot of fun to learn and engage with these communities. Another national and regional project that we work on is the EV Zion Shuttle Project. So this has been really about expanding EV shuttles and EV vehicles within national parks and really greening the national parks. And we've taken this effort and really put it into Rocky Mountain National Park as well. And I will talk about an upcoming project that we have with them as well in just a couple slides. But do you happen to recognize anybody in this lower photo? We work very closely with not only the city of Fort Collins, but just different communities in northern Colorado. Some examples of our projects would be our group buy that we're super excited about. And Diego, if you want, would you mind putting the link to our webpage and the group buy into the chat in case people want to look it over? So we're doing the group buy. We're partnering with Amanda Mansfield on that, as well as other projects and funding opportunities. We're looking to increase charging infrastructure in Fort Collins. Even though we've done a great job already, there's always room for improvement. As the amount of EVs grow, the amount of infrastructure needs to be able to handle that. As well, we're increasing charging and alternative fuel development across northern Colorado. We're a part of the Colorado Electric Vehicle Coalition, and that's been really great to learn more, statewide what's going on. And they actually have an equity subgroup that we're a part of and excited about. But I am going to put in a little plug. If you have an EV and you want to showcase that or be a part of one of our virtual ride and drives, please contact me because we are filming like your daily experiences within this EV. We're talking about it and we're just trying to get the word out there. I think one of the biggest barriers, and I think somebody had a question about this in the chat too, to owning an EV is just that it seems foreign to them. It seems unknown. So this is a way that we're really trying to bridge that gap and show you that it's not me from this nonprofit trying to tell you what to do. It's not the state trying to tell you what to do. It's your friends, it's your family, it's your neighbor who has this. And can vouch for it, or, you know, tell you the benefits, tell you what you should like watch out for. Yeah, if you're interested, please contact me. It's been a lot of fun to create these videos. Other upcoming events that we have, I'm going to talk about it again. The vehicle group buy, we have events within that group buy. So Diego has been really wonderful, and we set up what we call EV office hours. So what you can do is you can go on our website and literally schedule 15 minutes, I think up to half an hour, and you can speak with Diego one-on-one about any and all questions. And I will say there's no such thing as a dumb question. I know you've like probably heard that growing up, but ask away. He's really knowledgeable. He can connect you to different resources. It's been a really great experience to really talk to people one-on-one. Another thing that he's offering are free reoccurring electric vehicle 101 webinars. So they're reoccurring each month. So if you missed one, check it out for the next month. But it's how to pick the right electric vehicle for your household, workplace electric vehicle charging, and at-home electric vehicle charging. Other special events that we have that I've touched on, I'm really excited for the September 30th event. It's another Lunch and Learn style event. We're partnering with Yellowstone Teton Clean Cities, as well as Rocky Mountain National Park and Colorado Department of Transportation and Wyoming Department of Transportation. And we're going to talk about EVs in the national parks, as well as expanding that corridor. So we have these charging stations at these different parks. How do we expand the corridors so that people can get there with their EV? And then we also have a statewide EV 101 workshop coming up the evening of the 30th, and that's with all different recharge coaches. So it's experts in this industry giving you an overview of EVs. On the 3rd, we're going to have one of our first virtual ride and drive events, so look out for that. It should be a lot of fun. So with all of that being said, what's our impact, or what can, what's the tangible things that we have done? We every year put out an annual petroleum displacement report, and the 2019 one had us calculated at about 4.5 million gallons of gasoline equivalent reduced, as well as over 19,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced. So we get that data from our fleets and from our businesses, and we input that through the Department of Energy, and we create this report. We also helped put in 8 applications in the year 2019. We've managed to get 7 new EV charging stations installed. And so far, I think this needs to be updated now. I think we're at 8 events hosted in 2020, not including this one, but they've all been really fun. And something that I'm really proud to say with this nonprofit is that we really make a lot of connections. That's something that we're really good at. So if we know we work with this utility and this business is in their territory, oh, well, we can find out how we can connect them and get either EV infrastructure or just make those connections so that down the road, these folks know who to talk to. So again, because I like polls, we have another poll, and of our efforts, we're asking what one do you consider the highest priority? I know we didn't cover all of these in as great of detail as others, but just to read them out for you, we have our multimodal efforts, our alternative fuel adoption and incentive efforts, accelerating zero emission vehicles and infrastructure, reducing vehicle miles traveled, or our idle reduction program. Similar like how the city has idle reduction plans, we also help folks with that, whether it's installing technologies in vehicles or just giving them education and resources to idle less.
And just a quick description or definition, idling is when a car is on, it's not moving, right? So you're not using the engine to transport yourself.
And I do apologize, I've not been able to keep up with the chat, so hopefully we'll answer any of those questions as they come at the end here. Okay, so once you're finished up with that, I'll give you another second here to think it over. So far, the winner is alternative fuel adoption and incentives. And I know we've talked a lot about, EVs, and we're, a ZEV mandated, or we will be, a zero emission vehicle state. And I think that is very important, but we are fuel neutral, and something we really look at it holistically. Right now, EVs won't work for everybody, but there are other alternative fuels that can. So how can we really bridge those gaps? But it looks like this is slowed down, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. So this is more open-ended. We want to hear from you again. What projects would you like to see Northern Colorado Clean Cities get involved in? We just want to hear from you and maybe see if there's something new we can start on, or if there is something we can help educate you on the project that we're already working in that you might be interested in. No? And I know sometimes the open-ended ones can be a little bit more challenging to think of, but if there's something that excites you, feel free just to type that in, just for us to know. I'd say my favorite one that we're involved in so far would definitely be just expanding the corridors. And I love to work with different national parks. I want to get more involved in state parks as well. It looks like Alexa's put in the chat, making used EVs vehicles available. And I definitely hear that as well. And Diego and I have had conversations about that, and how can we incentivize this and make sure that, you know, anybody has access to an EV, and not only EV, but charging their EV. Which, did you know that you can charge an EV from any old outlet? It's going to charge a little slow, but you can do it. That's how we charge our Leaf. So,
Amy,
well,
maybe do you have to click show responses? Because I know I submitted a couple and they haven't popped up, so I don't know if others are experiencing that.
Sure, it says that it's highlighted. Oh, maybe if I hit, oh, I'm not sure. And it's activated, right? So I'm not, see what happens if I just hit this. Hopefully I don't lose them. Oh. Well, if you don't mind, just type them in the chat for now, because I'm not sure why it's not showing up here. But if you have something that you want to say, just type it in the chat. I'd love to see it still. And hopefully I can figure this out for the next time. But just to recap on what we can do, and then still be able to leave some time for questions at the end, contact us with any and all needs. We offer free memberships. So you can become a stakeholder at no cost and just get up-to-date news on EVs, alternative fuels, our events. We haven't had any events that have been, like, we don't really charge for events. We want anybody to have access to them. And we can connect you with different businesses, fleets, fuel providers. Again, like Diego said, we can offer training. We have access to all this different technical assistance. And we want to help fund these projects for you. We want to help put in these applications for you. And again, like I said, if you have an EV or any alternative fuel, or if you know of a fleet that does, we love to talk about it. We've been doing different interviews, which has been really fun and a good way to kind of get the word out there. But thank you all so much, and feel free to type questions in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and stop here so we can have a little bit of time for discussion.
Great, thank you so much. That was, it's so awesome to hear about all of the work that you've been doing. I know, at least for me personally, makes me feel really hopeful about the state and the West and the country's ability to electrify, despite what you think of as all of the challenges that you kind of see in day-to-day experiences. So I thought it was really awesome how you took the road trip examples and then used that map to show the charging infrastructure, which pointed out the barrier of, even when Colorado is working pretty progressively to implement a lot of charging infrastructure, it's keeping people from doing those EV road trips because of those gaps that we saw, like crossing the Utah state line and the New Mexico state line. So the new project that you just highlighted that I can't remember, RevCore?
So there's Core, it's like a mix. So it's Core West is the program that we're working on, but it came from Rev West. So Rev West is really that MOU that got signed between the governors, and then we're working on the Core West project to help expand that and meet those goals.
Cool. Yeah, I thought that one was a really exciting project. So good to hear. I've got a quick and easy question that's, I think, before, when Diego was talking about the EV Group I very modestly didn't highlight the huge success of last year's EV Group Buy. So I was wondering if you remembered any of those numbers off the top of your head, where you could just fill people in on what a tremendous success the program was last year and what we might be looking forward to this year.
Well, we had a tremendous help, and again this year as well, from Drive Electric Northern Colorado. So they're your local EV enthusiast group, and they really did a really great job helping us promote it. And so we had, I think it was over 53 Nissan Leafs in 1 month, and then total it was over 60 odd. They stretched it out, I believe. So I mean, 53 over a course of a month is pretty impressive. Yeah, that's pretty impressive when you're seeing all of those people adopt those EVs.
It earned Tynan's Nissan #1 seller in the nation for that month.
Wow. I don't think I'd heard that before. And I know some people who have their fingers deep in the community carbon inventory know that we have very low numbers community-wide of EV owners as a percentage. So thinking about 50 purchases in 1 month actually made a huge increase in our percentage of overall EV owners in the community. So it's exciting stuff.
That's fantastic. And to Tracy's point, I just saw you put in #1 fleet, government fleet. I wanted to, I totally missed that we're so proud of our stakeholders as well. We want to promote you guys, and Tracy, you being #1, hopefully we helped a lot. I think we did, but you're a go-getter, and we're just so inspired to live in Fort Collins and Colorado. So thank you guys for doing what you're doing as well.
While other people are maybe thinking about questions that they want to put in the chat, I love moderating because I always get to ask my questions first. You talked about a lot of the progress that you've made and the successes that you've experienced in this space, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you still see as the main obstacles to efficient electrification of transportation in Colorado, both, you know, on like an individual EV driver or owner level, as well as like city fleets and commercial fleets, and yeah, those larger types of vehicles.
Yeah, I'll probably start with, you know, fleet. Tracy actually can probably talk to you about some of the, you know, barriers that he has seen over the years of adopting alternative fuels, technology changes. So analysis and assessments into seeing if the technology meets your needs is the #1 thing that we have to do constantly. So yeah, Tracy, did you have any comments about, you know, adopting over the years? Any things with fleets?
Well, yeah, it's been quite a journey. You know, for those of you who maybe are newer to the city, we've actually been in the alternative fuels business since the early 80s. And electric vehicles were a part of that portfolio, and propane vehicles and natural gas, and they've all cycled around 2 or 3 times now. But it's the real deal now. The technology is there, both like on compressed natural gas vehicles and electric vehicles. The range, and just until a year or 2 ago, had been somewhat inadequate for a lot of departments to really make it feasible. Now that range, that's well over 200 and pushing 300 miles per charge, is more realistic. There's a lot of applications now that we're using electric vehicles in the fleet. We have over 40 of them right now, and so we just keep looking for new products. We have a sweeper, electric sweeper, street sweeper on order. If any of you have been over to Epic, we have an electric Zamboni, or ice resurfacer is what they call those. And so maybe, and buses, it won't be long before we're going to have I always lose count, but I think it's 4 buses. I know 2 initially, 4 or 5 buses, electric buses. We're working on that infrastructure. So
Is it
there's been a
17
lot of
charging
barriers.
stations? Public charging stations too?
So we just that's actually not in operation services, but I think was your question, Diego, the public charging program
As well, yeah. You guys have, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we have quite a few. I think utilities has like 11 or 12 across the city. So yeah, a lot of different things happening, but it's prime time now. We've had a lot of challenges since 1980, and it's really refreshing to see it all come to a head now. And Clean Cities, as I mentioned in the chat, has been alongside of us the entire time. So thank you guys for that. We really appreciate Diego and Amy and all the rest.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. And thank you for taking the charge. And yeah, we now have real world data on how we can adopt. So yeah, the barriers, we'll definitely talk about more of them if you guys have more questions, for sure.
We had one cool idea from Alexis in the chat asking, we're pointing out the large population of retired persons in Fort Collins and asking whether you all at NCCC have ever considered a way to offer extra financial incentives for seniors, or whether that's been a conversation in the EV space.
You know,
and just pretty quickly, because we're at time here, so I want to make sure we have a chance to give you a little virtual applause.
I don't have as much information on incentives about that, but I know that there is a discussion around it. In fact, if you join our virtual ride and drive, Lori, one of the presenters, she is working with a couple EV owners to discuss how beneficial EVs have been for elderly folks, and why we need to help get them into those vehicles and have them learn about them. I don't know all of the talking points that she's going to have, but I know that this has been in discussion. Diego, do you know if there's anything about incentives around it?
Paratransit is huge, and we have stakeholders that have adopted EVs. VIA is an enormous paratransit that offers transit services for the disabled, elderly. So they have adopted EVs, and they used Colorado funding for it. So give me a call. We have money for you. We can channel that money to you.
I love all the money just getting thrown around here. Yeah. Persistence is paying Tracy in the chat. Diego's throwing money at us. Well, thank you so much, Amy and Diego, for all of the awesome information and for your amazing work and partnership with the city and other cities, and yeah, working at the state level to make Colorado better for future generations. So thank you so much for coming to take the time to speak with us and for all the fun polls and great presentation. It was wonderful to have you.
It was great being here. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Good to see you too. Have a good one.
Bye.